Hey everybody, it's Monday, June 15th. I had to call in sick today. I got so sick yesterday evening. I actually had even forgot we went out to run errands and I forgot Rhett in here, which I'd never done that. So she hung out here in the office with the dogs and the cats and everything for like 4 hours. 4 hours. We got home. She was like, "Hello." I was like, "Oh crap, I forgot her." I think it was a combo of three things. I think I'm a little sick. There's stomach virus going around. Usually I can handle stomach viruses. I'll just like get a little extra sleep. That's usually I run a little slower because I try to run every day, so my top speeds are a little bit slower, and I get a little bit sick. And then, and I sleep a little bit better. So normally I'll sleep like 6 to 7 hours. When I'm sick, I'll sleep more like 8 to 9 hours. Um, but second of all, we did go to a buffet, and I think I ate some suspect chicken wings. I'm not sure. I definitely am not going to call out the company because I'm not, but they were very, very spicy, and it seemed like the spice might have been there to hide something. So I think I might have done that. And then I was just so out of it. I think between like sort of the food poisoning is probably over, but a bad reaction to some food, um, and having a little bit of a virus that kind of made me a little bit like where my everything wasn't quite working right. So I forgot Gretchen, but I also think or Rhett, but I think I also forgot to take. I for 40 plus years I've been taking 200 to 1,000 milligrams of caffeine in tablet form every morning when I first wake up. That's like the first thing I do. So instead of drinking coffee or soda or something, I'll just have some caffeine tablets. And I've been doing that nonstop for 40 years. So I think we are in 2026. Yeah, I was in the late 80s, probably 1986 when I started this caffeine path that I'm on that I've been doing. So, I'm pretty sure it doesn't have any negative physical effects. But anyways, so I felt horrible. Like I finally woke up around 10 a.m. this morning. Um, and then I got real sick last night. And then I woke up at around 10 a.m. this morning and then um so I logged into work and I just told them, "Hey, sorry, I'm gonna have to take today off." Fortunately, we're just doing sprint retro today. Um, so, that's just when you reflect on the pre-existing sprint. I'm sort of most of the work I do is so low level that I can't really participate very well in those things. So most of the things I deal with are like sort of at the level where they kind of belong at a lower level meeting, not at a top level meeting like that. So generally I kind of sit on my hands and talk unless I can add um, some sort of value. But normally, if I'm adding value, it's because we've gotten too in the weeds in something. I just can't add value at the level that they're looking for in those meetings. So anyway, so I don't really mind missing that one. Um, but tomorrow's is very important because that's our sprint kickoff, and that's where we sort of, you know, evaluate the existing work and determine whether it's ready to be worked on or not. Um, so and there I can usually really add a lot of value to the meeting. But the problem that we had one small bug that we sort of left, and then we're going to be back to um, update, which is we've taken like a almost a 10-month, probably a 10-month rabbit hole sidebar on. But when you click on this, see how it looks like that it's all collapsed. But if you go to the three and you click on one, you see that it's nice and all that. And I believe it's going to be two things that need to be done. One is an existing line of code, I believe, has to be modified. I need to add I think it's like a zero and a two or something to it, or maybe a null and a two. And the two tells it like how far to indent. So I think it's two spaces. Um, but there's that, and then inside of the actual CSS itself, I need to add a CSS class called wrap. I think it's called pre-wrap or something. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but basically in here, um, I believe it's like white space and then pre-wrap. Oh, did pre work? pre-worked. But I think you could also say pre-wrap and see that does it. Oh, so maybe all I need is the pre-wrap because it seems like it worked. Let's just try that. Let's just try adding a pre-wrap to our data table st and then entity table HTML. Oh, I do think, oh, before I start update though, I do want to do, well, no. Yeah, this is the last one. So I need to upgrade all of my, I believe all of my applications are in Angular 21. I need to upgrade them to Angular 22. And that is important. Okay, so I think it's right here. I'm just going to put some question marks here just so we can double check that this is the right place. Yeah, so we have our question marks, so that is the right place. I can't even tell you how often I've just been working along in a template thinking I'm doing something and then been like, what happened? Let's see, style is equal to white space and pre-wrap. And nope. So that did not work. I don't know why that was so wild. It seemed like it worked. Here, let me do this. Inspect. And I want to see the actual. Okay, let's just move this into its own window. We're being silly heads. Okay, so CSS pre-wrap. Oh, it's saying that there's a reason. It's an invalid. Oh, I think it needs to have a dash. Dash, yep, okay. Pre-dash wrap. Okay, so that's good. So I don't really like doing it like that. I like to test it that way, but that typically just ends up being a complete mess. Okay, first of all, there's the biggest reason not to do it is because it creates a huge mess. So if you can avoid having inline styles, that will make your life easier. But some places you just can't. The second reason is because normally, sooner or later, somebody has a problem with it, which I don't blame them. And you end up having to redo them. You end up having to go through and remove all of that eventually anyways, because it just does not work in there we go. So I don't know why we didn't have to it does seem like the other one works better though. Let's see, 3. Let's see, so it kind of seems like it's more deeply in indented. Am I right? Am I wrong? I might be wrong. Yeah, I think it's more deeply indented on that other one. So I'd rather that be consistent. I don't think it's enough to make it um, worth like creating like a special service or something like that, or utility class to do it. I thought there was a place where we took. Okay, oh, this is entity filter. I want to go to 3 and data table TypeScript. Actually, it's a little weird that there's a change in there. Maybe I removed something. And then I want to do something along the lines of, where are you? Had this memory of, oh yeah, here we go. JSON null and 2. So if we mouse over here, we can see what those are. So 1 is replacer. Okay, so I think null probably means param space. So there's value, replacer, and space. And replacer is an array of strings and numbers that acts as an approved list for selecting the object properties that will be stringified. Yeah, I don't, that it was just gibberish to me. I don't know what that was about. That doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so when we stringify it over here, because I believe we had to stringify it over here too. It's probably easiest to navigate by going to the table and then clicking here. Um, string JSON. So effect is equal to 0. Visualization, apply user filter. Wow, it's already 3 o'clock. Man, so I think I finally got out of bed around 1 o'clock, so about 2 hours ago. Update table data. So here's our toggle row. Here's where we apply filters. Filter, apply filter. How does it turn? Okay, so in this effect, we get this hash. We have this my entity service. Oh, it might be happening in here. It needs to update table data. I think it's probably table. Oh, it's data source. Okay, so data source ends up, data gets set here at route filtered records. Okay, route filtered records happens at apply filters. So we never stringify this? How do we get this thing? Do we store it? Maybe we store it. All right, so when I do an add, oh lordy, this was supposed to be so simple. So when we do our add, we do this update. Let's see what this does. Entity service update table data. Ah, so this is different. So this over here, we only had one. But over here, is it in here? It was 2. So that's why they look a little different. All right, so let's go with 2. I'm pretty sure that's a perfect example of like something I didn't even know this was possible. I asked ChatGPT. One time it told me 1, one time it told me 2. It's just sort of the nature of um, dealing with um, large language models. I will say that I do think that now the more I look, more I ponder everything and all that, the more I think LLMs are probably not being used for the purpose that they were invented. I think what they're really, really good at is language, but what they're not particularly good at is like if you like, for example, let's say I'm trying to find out how to create a string from numbers in JavaScript. And then I tell the LLM, hey, I'm working in JavaScript and I want to take 3 integers and I want to convert them to a string. Um, the fact that it's JavaScript is insanely important. But I've heard people talking about like LLMs for like health issues, for example, and they'll be like, oh, I'm not eating enough protein, so I think it may be causing this XYZ. And then what LLM will do, something very similar, my understanding, is it will look in protein stuff that's about not eating enough, like protein deficiencies and stuff, and start looking through there and see if there's something that agrees with what you're saying and then give you information about that, which is exactly like the computer thing that I was just describing. But the thing is if you're actually talking about health, then you probably actually want to also get things like, oh, but if you also have an iron deficiency, you might have this, and these would be other additions. And if you had a this, so like the behavior that you want while it's helping you with computer programming is a very different behavior that you want than what you want if you were looking for health advice. And we just don't want to acknowledge that as you come to different kinds of problems, you're going to need like different kinds of analysis. And for some reason, us as humans are pretty darn good at that. And I don't think the LLM, we're really good at knowing how to do it, but we're not particularly good at showing other people how to do it. I think we have to walk people through it. Um, but anyways, let's see how this looks now. I think that looks better. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe just the nature of the data is different. I don't know. But they're identical. We know they're identical now. So whatever I was suspicious of. All right, so that's good. So now we should not have any issues with unit tests. So let's just double npm run test. Should be pretty straightforward. The unit test should be. And then end-to-end tests should be pretty straightforward. And then we'll be able to commit this, merge it, and get started on update. We probably won't be able to finish update before, like our update. We won't be able to finish our update effort before we need to do the upgrade. So update is us being able to come in and go like this, boom, and then go to update and make changes. Upgrade is to take this whole thing, and so when we right click and we go inspect, and we're way up here, instead of seeing ng version 21.01, we see ng version 22. See, that's like the words are very, very similar, but they mean something very different. And like if you follow along, it's like, why did you even say that? But if you aren't following along, that could be very, very confusing. Um, right, unit tests are coming. Hopefully we won't even need this big screen. Hopefully it just says 100%. I cannot see why adding that one line of code, although it's showing that we have 4 changes, which is weird. Okay, okay, I think this was just spacing, which I like this change. And then what's this? Ooh. This is our new class for pre-rep. So that's good. And then this is our stringify where we changed it from one space or one, I don't know, whatever it was. And 3 table component. Okay, this, I got rid of 3 lines, got rid of 2 lines. All right, yeah, let's just go ahead and do it. It can be very confusing to somebody, but I don't want those extra lines. And we're at hundreds the whole way through, so we are done with that. Now let's check out end-to-end test, npm run, npm run Cypress, open. I'll be very interested to see, like, now that I'm working on my other, like, short ThreeJS things, I can kind of see how different projects within that, basically that's more like a bunch of little projects. And in that playlist, like, it's becoming very clear, like that you can build a lot of cool stuff without any sort of controls, right? Like where you just code it. Um, and just makes me really want to, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Um, the thing is like, I realize that I don't really understand music theory. I don't understand color theory. There's so many things I don't understand that really prevents me from taking it to the next level of creating beautiful things. But like, I do love the coding part. And so I want to build something to enable other people to make really, really beautiful things. I mean, that is something that I would really love to be able to do, is for people to pull up and say, oh, okay, I'm going to use this tool and I'm going to apply something that I learned in something else, and I'm going to make something amazing looking. And I'm going to be able to do it in a way that I was never able to do it before, because now I have all this power of all this computing behind me. You know, so, all right. It's so funny how much it annoys me that this stays at 001 home. Um, no matter, even when I click on 002, it'll stay at 001 home. And it'll be interesting to see if that gets upgraded along with Angular because I did install it inside of Angular. Um, this is the only project I've ever done that with. All the rest of them I've installed Cypress outside of the application, and I've been very happy that I did it that way. I mean, honestly, if it was up to me, like, let's say at my job I get promoted or something, and I get like more sort of more control over things, I would definitely have Cypress projects in their own repo. They wouldn't be in the same repo with the other application because I don't care the um, current like I don't care about trying to keep like you want to keep your unit tests in sync in the exact same like you want the versions to sort of be deeply coupled to each other so that as you make changes it's changed along with regular code base. But Cypress, I think you don't want that. You actually don't want them to be in sync. You want to be able to say, okay, this one failed fails after this new change, and then we changed Cypress so that it would accommodate whatever the new change is, and then you can compare the two. Um, I don't want, just to assume that Cypress needs to be updated to fix changes, and I don't want it just be assumed that changes need to be made to the code base for Cypress. It's just like one's right, one's wrong. We don't know. It just depends. Sometimes one's right, sometimes the other one's right. We go. Yeah, I didn't think anything would be broken because, like I think, we didn't really we added one CSS class really. We changed white space in a couple of places and we changed one configuration value that was coming over. So that looks good. All right, so then the next step is to push this, so git status or commit it. This is git commit. I like being able to have a version number. It's so nice having these issue numbers in here because then when you in the future when you're trying to figure out why you did something, you can just go look at the issue, and that is just huge time savings, especially if you do a good job writing the issues. Um, makes the JSON field for on the entity table makes the JSON field on the entity table um, pre-wrap formatted. I can't. So normally I don't really like using like a technical phrase inside of Git like that. Um, but the thing is like, how do you even describe pre-wrap? Like it's better if they Google pre-wrap to figure out what I meant by that than to try to like actually explain what pre-wrap is, I think. Um, and honestly, those are the kinds of things I think about all day long as a professional programmer. It's like, okay, how is this going to be? Oh, how is this going to work in this context? Oh, how is it going to work in the cloud? How's it going to work on a server? How's it going to work locally? How's it going to work connected to this different data source? Oh, how are the junior developers going to process this? How are the middling developers going to process this? How are the senior developers? How are the architects? How are the managers? How are the VPs? How does this, like that has become the job. It didn't used to be like that at all. It used to be that it was almost an advantage to not consider how human beings were going to absorb things as a developer, so because you had to become extremely focused. But now that's just not the case anymore. Now you have to understand how to code and make it to where the computer can understand the instructions that you've given it and then execute those instructions. Like that used to be the whole game, and now that's the easiest part of the game. Now the hardest part of the game is like actually getting shepherding the code from your laptop to the cloud or whatever environment the code needs to be executed on. Like that's become our job. It's very much close to like it's getting closer and closer to like if you ever watched the movie or read the book Dune, how there was these people that were like in they ran the spaceships. They could fly the spaceships and they like did this spice and then they could make the spaceship go from one place to another. And that was like no one really understood how they were doing it. They would just go and go into some sort of weird mental thing, and then when they came out the other side, it would be done. That's exactly what coding has become today. Um, and it's really hard to lose yourself in that. So let's see, git push. I'm so grateful that I can't even tell you how many times I've worked 3 times sicker than I was, and like drove in Atlanta traffic on the highway sicker than I was this morning, tireder than I was this morning, and not able to call in. I just had to go and then just suffer through the day. It was so nice just to be able to say, "Hey guys, you know, I really need the day off," and just to be able to have it. It was just, gosh. And I don't know why I didn't let myself be like this before. And I don't know, maybe it's not me. Maybe the world has just changed. But I know that, like when I was coming up, sick time and all that really wasn't something that was considered like something that you would do. What is it? GitHub. Um, but the thing was like when I was coming up, management and ownership and all those people, like they actually really cared and watched out for their employees. They would make sure that their employees weren't getting overworked and stuff. Like I just saw some, like I definitely want to be as vague as possible, but I was watching like this commercial about a person, and the person was asked like, how many of these types of people work in your home? And he's like, I have no idea. And it's just like, yeah, that's not how it used to. I'm not criticizing that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that any decisions should be made based on that answer. But I'm just saying it didn't used to be that way. Like somebody would definitely know the first name and uh, about everyone working at least in their home. Now it's totally comfortable to have complete strangers in your home that you don't know a thing about. And when there's complete strangers working for you that you don't know a thing about, well, it's hard to care about their well-being. Um, so now you kind of need these holidays and stuff because like jobs just aren't designed for that anymore. Like they just don't know. Like they don't want to. No, I don't think any of these people want bad things to happen to their employees. They just don't know. All right, so we're doing our PR. I think it's pretty straightforward. I don't think we need to add a description. I'll be the one. This is the point. So this, I'm kind of combining two things. Like if you had submitted this code and I was reviewing it, you would do this, and then I would go back and review it. So now I'm being you in submitting this, and I'm reviewing it all in one step. Basically, I'm at this point since I just coded it and everything. I'm just looking for that. I wonder if we still want this console log. This console log used to really save us because we could actually see what was going on. And I don't know. I don't know how long you've been watching this. If you've been watching it for a while, it used to be almost impossible to understand what was happening at the data level. It was just so complicated, and now it's just so trivial. It's just so wild to go from like it being almost impossible to do to so simple. Okay, so we're going to merge this pull request. We're going to confirm the merge, and then we are going to. I guess we're done now. So what I was saying is like trying to describe this for me that like the renderer has a scene and a camera. Like just that alone was very, very difficult, but you can clearly see that we have a renderer, it has an ID of 1, and it has a camera ID of 2 and a scene ID of 2. and it's got a width of 200, a height of 200, and a render ID of 1, which is over here too. So now we go, oh, okay, so we're camera number 2. Okay, this is camera 2, and it's got a camera. Oh, this is camera. Basically, it has its own stuff. It doesn't really go deep at all. It just has what it's looking at, has its current position. It has what's going to be too far for it to see. So anything more than 100 units away is going to be, you won't be able to see it. And then anything closer than 0.01, you won't be able to see. And then aspect ratio is something we played around with a lot. And it's 1 is how we want to show it and all that. Like that kind of thing was just almost impossible to even describe before. But see, and then see how we're seeing this aspect ratio. Like, where is the aspect ratio? It makes sense that it's set in the camera, but I mean, the argument could be made that it could be in the renderer or that it could be in the scene. But you know, it probably made total sense in camera because in real life, that's where the aspect ratio is. Does it make sense in 3D stuff on the web? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? We never came up that way. We came up this way. This is how we came up. That's just how it is. If I decided I wanted to be able to set the aspect ratio in the geometry, for example, which wouldn't be technically feasible, right? Like it's if there was only one geometry per camera, setting. Although I guess we could build out our own aspect ratio thing. But another place that might make sense would be in the renderer, right? Let's say in the ST side, I want to set aspect ratio on the renderer. I could have an aspect ratio here, and then on the 3 side, it could go find the renderer and set the aspect ratio. Might override. Maybe if I do ever add an aspect ratio to the renderer's aspect ratio will override the cameras. But it matters because when we come over here and we hit update, that is not an aspect ratio of 1. As it said, it's 1.6. And that, like digging into that, is what caused this whole almost 1 year um, or 9-month rabbit hole. That was the very, very, very beginning. And now we're like, then I was just like, well, this is not how it's intended to look at, right? Like, look, this is how it's intended to look. But when I'm here, don't want to do that. But when I'm in this view, this is how I want it to look. Because I want to be able to see as much as I can. I want as much of my screen as I can get on here. But sometimes I might want to actually, in this view, see it as it's intended, not in the most convenient way for me, right? I mean, it's just, so that's next. So that is an issue. And see, this is a thing that, like, it is probably, depending on how they architect it, there's a very strong possibility. I have 0 pull requests. I have 3 issues. I have 2 issues. If I hit refresh, this will go from 1 to 0. This will go from 3 to 2. Now, it's literally, I bet you, 1 or 2 lines of code to fix that. But what 1 or 2 lines of code? I mean, I imagine it's 1 or 2 lines of code buried in, like, what do we? It's a shame we don't have the unit tests up. Like we have, like, I think it's like 1,400, 1,300 lines of code in this project. It's probably buried in like 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 lines of code. So finding that 1 or 2 lines of code just perfect, and to change it is not simple. That's not what I'm trying to say. But it probably would be simple if you had somebody who's been working on the code base for 10 years and is passionate about the code base. But the promise of LLMs is that you could just tell the LLM, hey, I want this to update after updating. And once I close it, I want this to be updated. And it seems like you should be able, if the promise that all these billionaires are telling us is true, which they believe this stuff. I don't for a second believe that they don't believe this stuff. But if what they believe is true was actually true, someone could just give it a prompt, could just go into GitHub, go into at Microsoft, go whatever go into their code base and say, after closing a merging a commit, I want this to update. And it would figure it out. And not only would it figure it out, but it would figure out in a way that would like everything would update all the time, right? Because it's probably whatever that issue is. But let's hit reload and see if what I think is true. Yep. See, so there was no reason that that had to wait. That should have been able to be done, right? Like I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying that like there was no reason that A, it's easy to explain, it's easy to test, so it should be easy to point your LL. To me, the hardest part about like LLM coding, right, is like saying do X, Y, and Z, and then it does it, but that you don't realize that hey, there's these unintended consequences that we missed, right? So it went in and changed the code. We don't really understand what it did, but now there's these other issues and we don't know what to do. Like that's the hardest part. And that's even if you brought in a contractor and you had them do something, that's still the hardest part. That's the hardest part, period, is making sure that they didn't break anything else while you were doing it. And the but this doesn't have any weird side effects. This doesn't like it would should just be pretty simple to to do that. So anyway, so let's go ahead and start this. Um, this is going to be actually pretty fun. Okay, so I'm going to assign it to myself. I'm going to create a branch, and then I'm going to say create, and then I think yeah, and I'm going to check it out locally. Control V. And we are so we are ready to roll tomorrow with our with our update. And I don't even know what the first step is. So I guess tomorrow we'll figure that out. I suspect there is not like if we go to the detail, I can't help myself. And I just generally consider myself one of the very luckiest people in the world that I actually get to do this for a living. I like solving Rubik's Cube, right? I solve my Rubik's Cube a couple times a day, every day. Um, I really like solving it. It does not. Um, it is not a. You can't make any money solving Rubik's. Well, there are some people who make money solving Rubik's cubes, but the vast majority of us just do it for fun. All right, so we have our editors section, we have our outer section, we have our visualization section, and we have our editors section. So I'm guessing I did something for our visualization editors so that they take up 100% of the spacing, but we probably want to have another one that just takes up one. Oh, outer takes up 100. Oh, okay. No, actually, oh yeah, like each one of these takes equal heights. See, we don't want that. So right now, if you looked at this, it's like kind of they're stacked on top of each other, and each one's designed to take equal heights. But I don't want the middle one to take up. I want the two outer ones to take up all the height, and the middle one just to take what it needs. Curious. Now I'm curious. So, and then this is a perfect example of like I think that I could come up with something. I really do. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I could come up with something. Um, and um, that would do what I want. But I want the solution that is like most um accepted, and that's where that is the sweet spot for the LLMs, right? There's hundreds of ways to do this, and as long as like there's not some I don't know conspiracy going on to try to push a certain thing, it's the sweet spot. Now, every once in a while, I guess there's people that claim that the LLMs are sort of trained to specifically believe things that aren't true or whatever, or to push a certain agenda. And in those cases, it is a bit weird, but I don't think you get a lot of that in like HTML and CSS. Um, so I have this CSS and but need to add a third div between visualization and editors. But the new div should take up the minimum space possible, while the two outer divs take everything. Take equal amounts of what is left. And I will say that I think one side effect of using LLMs and stuff is that I've gotten better at explaining things. And at first, had got that first when the LLMs first came out. I got worse at explaining things. It was just like because the thing is I would give it misspellings. I would just leave entire ideas just out and just let it figure out what I was talking about and all that. And I got to where I was trying to do that with people. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can't do that. I need to really type stuff out. I need to optimize my typing for humans, not for LLMs. And the way you optimize your typing or anything for anything is by practice. So I have CSS. I have this CSS, but I need to add a third div between the visualization and editors. The new div should take up the minimum space possible, while the outer div should take up equal amounts of what's left. And then I gave it the CSS. This is so crazy. So it's saying that I should create one called, I guess that's like more of a toolbar. Let's see. Toolbar, and then 1, 1, and 0. Then I guess over here it'll show me what I should do. Oh, that's so funny. So controls would have been a good name too. I wonder why it called it middle. I guess it didn't know for sure what I was trying to get at, so. Oh, I guess another thing that we could have done is we could have put it as the top of the editor. I think I called it a toolbar, right? And then let's see what we got. So I don't even see toolbar. Oh, okay, I probably need to set the background color of it. I feel like I should set it to like a green or something. Maybe a red. I don't know. Let's go to toolbar and set the background color. I guess actually what I want to do is, I guess I want to give it a border. Border PX solid black. I remember it took me forever to memorize that back in the early 2000s. I think I made the overall thing background black. Probably should have made the overall. I don't know. Actually, I don't have any idea. There we go. So anyways, we definitely want to right size things, and then we want to um, add like our two icons, and then once we've added our two icons, then start adding behavior. And really, like for the first control is the maximize, minimize. So basically, when you click it and you go back and forth, I think I actually gave a pretty good in GitHub. I think I gave a pretty with the issue. I gave a pretty good art description. So let's look at that real quick. But I do definitely always want to take every chance I can just to say what an amazing piece of software ThreeJS is. Um, it's just like it's like I really enjoy the there's this guy, he has a show called My Lunch Break, and he talks about like how it's impossible. There's no way that people built these buildings, blah 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 blah. Like he goes on and on. Very enjoyable. I mean the photography and the art or the photos and all that. It's like you travel the world. It's beautiful. Well worth watching just for that. But I enjoy watching it because it just shows like how fast, like I don't care how obvious what human accomplishments are in front of you, we can ignore them, and we'll come up with any story we can to say, yeah, we didn't do that, that didn't happen. Um, and 3GS is definitely one of those where it's just like mind blowing that they actually got that working and that it works. It's just unbelievable what humans can accomplish. But okay, so button one, this is the zoom. Okay, so this is so that you're just zooming in or out of the existing camera, period. That probably will not be a good way. But with that will also probably come a number, right? Or something like, or you'll push it and then maybe if you hit the plus or space bar, it zooms in the, or the, I don't know, maybe one zooms and zeros unzooms, or up button zooms and down button zero. I don't really want to use those though, actually, because we'll probably end up using those to point what the camera's looking at and where the camera exists. But anyways, fit to view. This is probably the button two will probably be the one that we start with. Fit to view allows the user to swap between using the whole viewer area and seeing the visualizations as defined. And so what that's going to be is we're going to throw the use mat icon, throw some kind of fit to view. Oh, the other one will probably have a plus and minus button actually that you can click. Um, to zoom in or zoom out or something. But okay, so when you click on it, it'll show like this. It'd be just like that. And then, or like let's say we add another one. Oop, and then we come over here. And now if we were to update and then we clicked it, then it would show right there because that's where it belongs. Like actually, if we theoretically, oh, this will be good. See data entities. Okay, so if we do this, add, and then we add, right? And we come to this and we see that this thing is supposed to be, I guess, oh, okay, so we need to come over here to, and then back. Because what I care about is this visualization. So you see this visualization is supposed to sit at 200 and the top of 0. That's where it belongs. So if I'm in this view here at this update and then I click my new button, it should sit there like where it would belong. So that is like the thing is like so, and the thing that I kind of visualize, I imagine, is the view like this, where you have like a big one like taking up that much space and then a little one in the corner, like a mini map. And then what I really, really, really want is to have like a eclipse happening on one, and then a mini map that shows the eclipse from the top. Like that is one of the things I really, really, really want to get working. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Wish me luck. Tell me to feel better soon. Bye.